Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying and your Thursday dose of rallying chit chat. We have some exciting news this week. Not only are we going to a new country with Rally Paraguay, the WRC have also announced a new free-to-air TV deal. So I want to talk about that a little bit because it's interesting and it raises a few questions. So basically the WRC promoter seemed to have done a deal with Samsung's Fast TV and streaming service, so you will now be able to access free WRC content through the Fast Plus app. That means that you will be able to watch some live rally content. They have said that there will be 5 hours of live stages from Rally Paraguay this weekend, and they are saying that over the course of the year there will be 450 hours of content from 20 rallies, so I can only assume that the ERC is included in that a little bit as well. So there is lots to be excited about there. It will only be available in the following countries. Let me read you a list: Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Switzerland and the UK. So this is an exciting step forward, isn't it? It is a significant move to make more free-to-air live coverage available. So we should congratulate the promoter for doing that because it's a really important step. So it is good, but there has to be a but, doesn't there? I want to talk about the but because for a start, it's very Eurocentric, isn't it? You know, this is a championship that is already very European based. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years about truly making this a world championship. So I think to have this new coverage package aimed exclusively at viewers in Europe is a little bit of a tricky thing, but there is a deeper question than that. And that question is, what's wrong with YouTube? Why do we need a deal with Samsung? I suspect apart from the obvious cash money. I just keep coming back to this thought. With more and more championships and more sports adopting YouTube and using it for live streaming purposes, very often free live streaming purposes, why is it that the WRC is resisting this? You know, why not have 1, maybe 2 stages per day streamed on YouTube for free? Obviously the shakedown is streamed on YouTube. I think I do have an answer for that. I think the answer for that is that if they did 2 stages a day and the power stage on YouTube, no one would pay for Rally TV. I think that is the problem that they fear that they have. And I do understand that concern. Obviously, if you're trying to sell a paid product, you don't want to give away too much. But I think the other side of that is that in order to get people to buy into your paid product, you have to give them a bit of a teaser. And I'm not sure that the WRC is giving enough of a teaser right now. Obviously, there is still some TV coverage in certain countries. So that's a good thing, isn't it? But I think if we're going to get people to pay for Rally TV, then I think we perhaps need to give a slightly better offering. I have talked in the past about the whole model of how WRC coverage is put together. I have in the past argued that we should actually change the approach entirely, and rather than the promoter putting out their own content, they should kind of do things in a kind of F1 type of way where they have the feeds from the stages, which they then effectively sell to a third-party broadcaster, and then that third-party broadcaster makes their own content with it, a little bit like Sky Sports do with the Formula 1, for example. And while I think there are benefits to that, it also made me think of a question this week, because if you look at what F1 are doing, yes, you have obviously all your Sky Sports content or wherever it is in the world, you know, your various TV packages, but if you actually look at what Formula 1 themselves are doing with their YouTube channel, I think there are still opportunities for the WRC to expand and to frankly do a bit of a better job. I mean, if you look at the F1 YouTube channel, sure, there are highlights, but there's actually a lot more than that. So as I record this, since the last WRC round in Finland, the WRC YouTube channel has put up 8 videos, I think it was. Then compare that to F1. So since the last round of the Formula One World Championship, the Hungarian Grand Prix, which was also 3 weeks ago, same as Rally Finland, the F1 YouTube channel has put up around 20 videos, so more than double the amount. And if you look at the type of videos as well, I think there is just a lot more depth. So yes, they have some highlights and clip reels and all of that kind of thing, but they've also got look backs, analysis and previews. You know, you've got Sam Collins and Jolyon Palmer doing technical content about the cars and the regulations. Now, I know Formula One has more money, so they do have a bigger budget for this kind of thing, but this content doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. And I think you always have to weigh up cost versus added value, because there's the old saying, isn't there? You know, to make money, you have to spend money. Are we investing enough? Is the promoter investing enough in its free-to-air offering and its free content? Well, I'm not sure that it is. I think we also need to talk about the paid coverage a little bit. So I am a Rally TV subscriber. I'm sure many of you are as well. And I think for me, there's a little bit of an imbalance in that coverage right now, because you know, the chances are if you're paying to watch a sport, then you're probably quite well immersed in it. You're probably pretty knowledgeable about it. And for me, I think it just feels at times like the Rally TV coverage is just a bit too fluffy, a bit too superficial. They're not really digging into things quite enough. There's not enough analysis and sort of techie stuff and behind the scenes. And I get it in a way. You know, you've got new subscribers coming on board, so you do need to have a bit of introduction as well. But I feel like we're not quite going deep enough in coverage in a product that is pretty much going to be paid for by people that are very knowledgeable. So I would like to see them with Rally TV going a bit deeper. You know, why can't we have a bit more behind the scenes, a bit more analysis, a bit more input from former drivers? You know, why haven't we got people attending tests and seeing what's going on in between events, and putting some of that content on Rally TV and some of it on YouTube, just to give us something a little bit deeper. I think the teams have a role to play in this. You know, this is not all on the promoter. I think one of the unfortunate things is that WRC has become a bit of a closed shop. The teams are incredibly secretive, which is understandable to some extent, but I think it's maybe gone a little bit too far. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of media at tests if it's done in the right way, because it can give people a bit of insight and get people more excited, and you can tell some stories. And I think the stories element of it is really important. You know, I know some of you won't like this, but it's the stories that draw people into sport. You know, it's the human stories, it's the struggle, it's the things going on behind the scenes. That's why things like Drive to Survive have been so successful, because it's given people a window into behind the scenes. And you know, ultimately there are thousands upon thousands of hours of stage footage on YouTube from fan cameras. So if that's what you want to watch, you can watch it for nothing. So why would you pay for Rally TV to watch something, you know, where there's an endless supply of it for free on YouTube? So I think for me, Rally TV has to go deeper than that, and it has to offer more than that to create value for the people that are paying for it. And that, again, that can feed into making the free offering on YouTube better, because you can use it to create teasers and shorter versions. So, and then again, you know, you bring more people in. And I think really importantly, getting back to the top of this, anyone in the world can watch it. You know, as I said, we've been talking about making this a genuinely world championship, going to new countries, going to Paraguay this weekend, for example, going to Saudi Arabia to get into the Middle East again. We want this to be a world championship. So why not use YouTube, where anyone can watch it wherever they are, and they're not missing out, and we're using that free platform to draw people into the paid content. And I think we're not quite doing that yet. You know, the TV highlights packages we get in the UK is a bit fluffy and doesn't really offer too much value. Again, it's not really anything deeper than what you can watch with the 3-minute daily highlights on YouTube. It just feels like it's been stretched out to an hour. So I think I don't want to end on the negative. I am pleased that they have made more free-to-air content available. You know, if you're not in one of the countries listed, perhaps you can use a VPN to watch it. I just feel like we could still use YouTube a little bit better. We could still use other socials a little bit better and make it so this is not just a service for people in Europe. It's something that anyone can watch. And hopefully that would be to the benefit of everyone, because then they might subscribe to Rally TV, or they might just become a fan of the championship. It might just allow us to find new people. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm interested to hear what you think about this new service and whether you think the WRC could do more in terms of its content. Otherwise, hit that like and subscribe button, follow me on socials, all that stuff, and I will see you again next time.